And so it ends where it all began, with an Applejack episode. Well, technically, since Amy Keating Rogers wrote The Ticketmaster with Lauren Faust, so Applebuck season was her first episode of her very own. So from a critic first and a fan second, here's the second opinion. I'll start by saying that the first act of this episode might just be the best part. For one, it has a lot of fun with stuff like Pinkie Pie doing what she does, and Applejack being out of touch with pop music, not knowing who the famous Countess Coloratura is. And that's out of touch, by the way, not laughably clueless. It doesn't come across as too gimmicky, because it's portrayed very much as a believable conversation between friends who are really into certain fads, and one who just isn't, and instead was once a personal friend of the celebrity in question. And because of that approach, Applejack being so sure that Coloratura is really a sweet and laid-back person actually carries some weight. On that note, this episode could have lost an edge very quickly in that flashback scene. It probably would have been all too easy to tell us about how Coloratura, or Rah-Rah as I'm gratefully going to call her from now on, was just the most not selfish, everything that a stuck-up pop star isn't little girl you've ever seen. But instead it manages to be cute in a way that doesn't feel flat. It feels like two nice kids who are just on each other's wavelength. It fits a good amount of character into a short time frame.
Rah-Rah was just so easy going. We were like two apples from the same branch.
It's only 3 words, but somehow just so easygoing is the perfect way to describe a kid like that. It's not too much and it's not too little. This really is a strong impression of good childhood friends who just fell out of touch.
It happens sometimes. Friends come in and out of your life like busboys in a restaurant.
And that's where we get to Rah-Rah, who they do a very nice job making likable despite her celebrity gimmicks.
You got Hoovesies from Countess Coloratura! Look! Oh, she clearly thinks you're very special!
Hoovesies! Hoovesies! Hoovesies!
I'm sensing cynicism here. Towards more celebrities than one. In fact, for similar reasons, I have to praise her first song, which manages to be both a great spectacle and a deliberately shallow number. In other words, kind of a subtle parody of the pop songs I absolutely cannot stand. So I like it. Yeah, the episode does a really good job making Rah-Rah's celebrity persona, but not Rah-Rah herself, seem over the top. And Broadway star Lena Hall contributes to that by doing a really good job on the singing and the voice acting. It doesn't even come across like the character is trying too hard to fake her celebrity persona or anything like that. It's just a really balanced depiction of someone in the position she's in. And it helps keep her likable during the tricky situation we get to when her manager, Sven Gallop, is revealed to be taking advantage of his connection to her and the influence he's had on her success. However, pulling off that part of the plot is a whole other animal. On one hand, there's a lot of hinting at what's underneath the surface here. Rightly so, because this kind of thing can be more complicated than people realize. Many often speculate on the roles played by people like this, who are somewhere outside the spotlight. Managers, studio executives, even critics like yours truly. On one hand, as the episode acknowledges, he is playing a role, helping Rah-Rah sell herself and setting up shows that people do appreciate. And the ability to do that doesn't pertain to the ability to perform for an audience, so it does make sense to have him around. But on the other hand, Applejack notes that he's praising his own contributions more than he's praising Rah-Rah, and he actually seems a lot more demanding and self-entitled than she does, even bullying Pinkie Pie to get what he wants. Does he have a need to feel like a big-shot celebrity too? Is he making Rah-Rah think that he and the image he's created to sell her are both more important than they are? Where should you draw the line? But ultimately, those questions remain only lightly touched upon. Instead, it all gets very into one aspect in particular, how Applejack fixes everything with optimistically good results.
I'm afraid Sven Gallop doesn't give a pickled pippin about your charity work.
You're just saying those things because you're jealous.
Jealous of what? A pony who hides behind a veil so thick she can't see when some pony's using her?
Well, I guess Applejack is the element of honesty after all, not the element of tact.
Ugh, not this again.
Come on now. You just gotta give me a chance to prove what I'm saying is true.
And just how are you going to do that?
She's still willing to hear Applejack out. Lucky she put so much stock in a childhood friend.
I was considering maybe canceling the contest with the school ponies.
Countess, this is wonderful! Schedule me a spa treatment, now that I don't have to oversee a rehearsal with those brats.
Deliver, or the diva ditches your dippy charity.
So that's how you've been managing things?
I deserve everything I get. All this charity and school pony contest nonsense is just remnants of that boring little rah-rah I met back in Manhattan. What can you even do without me? Good luck.
Wow, lucky Sven Gallop is pure evil. This episode reminds me a lot of what Rogers was going for back in Canterlot Boutique, with the theme of working to bring your own visions to life and not somebody else's, but it runs into a similar problem, seeming to just take for granted that it's true and it justifies all of these extreme reactions. It doesn't really even show us much ahead of time to make us think it would mean so much to Ra-Ra to get rid of her image at the end and succeed without it. Seriously, it seemed like she was happy enough, but it still expects us to see it as this powerful, deeply significant moment for her. And this may not surprise the people who know me, but I found it kinda sappy.
This song may be familiar, but yet it's totally different. Kind of like me, Ra-Ra.
Ra-Ra? She randomly called herself a different name? Well, actually, that kind of sounds like a weak bid for drama.
I am just a pony. I make mistakes from time to time.
She's just like me. She makes mistakes. Oops.
When I arrived at the Helping Hooves Music Festival, I had forgotten who I really was. But then an old friend reminded me what real friendship is about, and she told me that if I was true to myself, I couldn't go wrong.
Like someone's gonna tell her she sounds like a 16-year-old girl who watches too much My Little Pony.
I have a very special surprise for her. Apple Bloom, Sweetie Belle, Scootaloo, come on up.
But Mommy, I thought I won the contest. Why don't I have a big sister who knows a pop star? But unlike what I said about Canterlot Boutique, there's nothing here that wouldn't necessarily work out the way it does if this were reality, and I couldn't bring myself to just brush it off. Instead of thinking this wouldn't work, I found myself asking, should this work? Should you really just abandon your marketing image if it's not quote-unquote you enough? Should you really hit your old friend with your raw, uncensored opinion on their life direction and expect it to work out for the best? Everything that happens here is technically right and technically for the best, but are we really supposed to believe it's likely that this is how it would turn out? I mean, Amy Keating Rogers is a creative artist herself who's had to work her way up to a lot of successes and probably some failures too if her career was anything like most writers. I'm guessing she knows full well that it's not always that simple. And in fact, the scene where Sven Gallop gets fired actually builds up the risk of cutting him even more, even giving him the last word on the way out in an interesting bit of nuance. It doesn't give us the excuse that his way is worse, succeed, or fail. It's like Rogers knows that jobs like his can always be a complex issue and doesn't have the perfect answer. Or at least isn't all that interested in finding it. But then, what is she interested in? Seriously, if you notice, we don't even see what happens after this concert ends, or what Ra-Ra's plans for managing her career from now on will be. It all just boils down to this one moment, where she sides with the one character who's been a true friend to her and goes for it wholeheartedly. And in fact, for this portion, the episode does have Applejack give her, and us, a pretty good reason to believe in what she's doing.
Sven Gallop turned you into Countess Coloratura and acted like your friend so we could enjoy the perks that came with being a star. But the real perk of friendship is getting to see your friend being true to their self. And Ra-Ra, when you're simply yourself, you're the brightest star I've ever seen shine.
So what is Amy Keating Rogers interested in here? I'm gonna have to say, showing us that when you have a chance to make things work out this way, even though it's not a guarantee, it's worth going for. Applejack was blunt and untactful with Ra-Ra, who, being a celebrity now, had every excuse to look down on her instead of considering what she said. Well, yes, but I guess someone who is a good person and a true friend wouldn't just do that. Sven Gallop was a major component of Ra-Ra's success. Well, in the end, he was taking advantage of that by taking advantage of her. Bottom line, in that case, if you're a self-respecting individual, you shouldn't let someone do that to you, no matter what perks they promised you. And Ra-Ra's Countess Coloratura image was what attracted fans in the first place, making a sudden jump like this a major risk. Well, sometimes good art is about taking risks, and this one allowed Ra-Ra to find that the most satisfying projects really are the ones you can fully get behind. Like that song that I will admit kinda speaks to me the more I hear it.
And now I see those colors right before my eyes. I hear my voice so clearly and I know that it is right. I thought I was weak, but I am strong.
But is this a lesson that people like Ra-Ra could really use as delivered? Well, even from the very small experience I have with how the creative profession game works, I can testify that it's a pretty easy lesson to forget. When you start out knowing that it's what you want to do, you may well be ready to go full speed ahead. It might be a heck of a mountain climb, but You want to show what you can do. You're all over this. But as you start to work your way up, it might start to seem like a big field with lots of players on it. So now you're thinking more than ever about what you can do to gain an edge, as well as maybe coping with disappointment when you don't. But then, when the spotlight finally comes your way, it's easy to be intimidated by it. There might be a few new requirements you weren't ready for now that you're being watched by more skeptical eyes than ever, and that stresses you out. As happy as you are to get some love and recognition at long last, you're probably thinking harder than ever about how you can keep it that way. However, you've been worrying about how to keep the progress going for so long that with the demand just getting higher, you might start to feel a little burnt out. You've worried so much about pleasing everyone, you might indeed have lost sight of why this was fun in the first place, which isn't an easy thing to cure. Because even though you might try not to go through the motions and be invested as a creator, you're not always going to feel like it. And it's still your job, so sometimes you're going to have to do it anyway. Maybe a new direction would help. Maybe you need to rethink how you're going about this. It'd just be so nice if you could find the inspiration to hit your stride doing it exactly the way you love. Maybe drawing inspiration from these very feelings you're having right now is a good place to start. In fact... Okay, well, I know Amy Keating Rogers has written for popular shows before. I have to imagine that this is the first time an entire fan base has known her by name and actively appreciated her specifically, which I'm guessing she wasn't expecting when she started writing for this show 5 years ago. And if you're willing to accept that you can sometimes glimpse a writer's mindset from their material, hard work and trials, progress and disappointment, dealing with the spotlight now that it's a possibility, just trying to hold on to what you loved about this in the first place. So in the end, while I might have typical hang-ups with certain aspects of this episode, I think I'm always going to hold a special place for it. I know, right? Now, it goes without saying that when I first started reviewing this show, infamously calling my series non-brony reviews, I didn't expect to end up where I am now. But I think my first clue was when I first saw Appleduck season, where I was still expecting the show to be settling in so shortly after the big premiere, and instead it just kept finding more new ways than ever to be fun. My exact words in my vlog review were, if they keep giving me episodes like this, who knows? And now, 1.5 years, 111 episodes later, I can say that no writer brought more good episodes to the table than Amy Keating Rogers. But why stop at me? There are a lot of fans out there with stories mine probably wouldn't hold a candle to, and I'm sure they'd all like to say thanks for the great work. You helped bring a lot of people together, Amy Keating Rogers, just by writing with innovation and sincerity. But you don't just have to take my word for it. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Once upon a time,
you came into my world and made the stars align.
Now I can see the signs.
You pick me up when I get down so I can shine.
Shine like rainbows, shine like rainbows.
Friends, you are in my life,
and you can count on me to be there by your side.
And when the music comes alive,
you sing us songs to lift us up so we can shine. And the sound that we hear in our hearts makes a crescendo.
and the light that ignites through the dark, it makes us all glow.
We shine like rainbows.
Together we stand as the rain begins to fall,
and holding our heads up high as the sun shines through it all.
And the sound that we hear in our hearts makes a crescendo.
And the light that ignites in the dark, it makes us all glow.
And shine like rainbows.
shine like rainbows.
Shine like rainbows.
We shine like rainbows.
Shine like rainbows.
Dear
Amy Keating Rogers. We just wanted to let you know how much you have inspired us in the community. You are an amazing writer. You write most of the best episodes I have ever seen. And we cannot thank you enough for the work you've done. So we hope you enjoy it at Disney.
Goodbye, Amy Keating Rogers. We'll miss you, but we will follow you to Disney, so win-win situation.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. To Robin Plays, 138 Veronica, Omni Viewer, Edix Lover 1, Matt 2, Secret Dreamer, and Calliope Pony, whose links can be found in the description. Thanks for the help, everybody. But mainly subscribe to me, because it's on my channel. I must be the most popular one, right? Don't answer that. Anyway, if you'd like to see another review, click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.